Hello everybody in the vinyl community and whoever else is interested in watching this video. I'm Nick and I'm doing a video this evening about albums that I've picked up at live shows, and more specifically at like club and bar shows. I'm totally skipping albums that I bought at festivals. There's just a lot that fall into that category, and they don't seem as intimate. You know, a band coming through town in a visiting a club and hauling all their merch and having band members sell it at the table, you know, by the stage. It's a little bit different. You know, they're financing their whole tour that way, and you get to be a part of it by buying merch and supporting the band one-on-one at the show. So it's a little different than festivals. Festivals is usually a big group of people. You know, they have their own merch tent, and it's not as personal. You know, you don't get to really talk to the band members or, you know, have that opportunity, that one-on-one contact. Not that you always do at a bar. Sometimes they have a friend or, you know, somebody traveling with them who's selling the merch, and you don't really get to see the band. But it's you know, it's a whole different thing to go to a show, and whether you're planning on it when you get there or being blown away by them on stage and you just want to buy their album, it's a great way to support the band. So I'm going to try to keep this video short, but I've got 9 albums, 9 LPs, 1 CD to show you, and 2 cassettes. I'm kind of skipping a lot of CDs. The one I'm going to show you is a special one, kind of cool. But we're going to start with here, Pink Mountaintops. In 2006, my wife and I went to the venue that's in Mount Royal College in Calgary, Alberta. And we saw this band, Pink Mountaintops. Now, I'd read about them in the Fast Forward magazine, which was a local music newspaper, and like local arts and stuff. And I'd heard about the band, Pink Mountaintops, also associated with Black Mountain. And at this time, it was essentially the same band as Black Mountain, a lot of the same members. And then also, they were an offshoot from Jerk with a Bomb. So I'd read about them. I'd always read about bands that I wanted to see, even though I'd never even heard the music. But I took a shot, and I like dragged my wife. We were like newlyweds. We went to the show, and I didn't buy the LP. They didn't have an LP, or I would have bought it, but I bought the CD. And the CD was, well, I played the hell out of it. I love the CD, the songwriting, it's kind of droney and rock, folk. There's a lot of different aspects to this album that I really like. I love this one. This one is Axis of Evil. Anyway, the CD, I played the CD forever, and I never really was happy with the production value, like the mix of it. It wasn't mastered very well. It wasn't mixed very well. And you could hear it. It sounded kind of DIY. But about a year ago, I ordered this from the record label, Jaguar, and it was totally different. The vinyl version of the album sounds great, and I couldn't be happier with it. So, Pink Mountaintops. And this isn't even the actual album that I got at the show. But that was an introduction to my long love of Black Mountain, Pink Mountaintops, and Lightning Dust. There's lots of avenues that this band went. So, it's Pink Mountaintops. I'm going to kind of take this in a weird order. We're going to see if this is going to work. It's not chronological. We'll just see what happens. Storytelling, we'll see if it works. This is Black Mountain. I got this in Calgary at, I forget the name of the bar. It used to be the Back Alley. Now it is the, shit, I don't remember what they call it now. Anyway, this is Black Mountain, their self-titled debut album, but this is the deluxe 10-year anniversary of it. It has a bonus LP, which wasn't included in the original. I have the original, but I wanted to pick this up because of the bonus, the extra stuff. And I believe it's their the bonus LP is their Druggernaut EP, which is really, I haven't been able to find that. So I don't own that. That's probably the only thing that this band has that I don't own is the Druggernaut EP. But I think that that's what this bonus disc is. If anybody knows, feel free to leave a comment below. But anyway, I bought this at a show. That's why I included this. But this is also going to segue into Blood Meridian. This album I bought at a different Black Mountain show at the Republic in Calgary. Now, Blood Meridian, we showed up late for the show and the opener was almost done. The opening act was almost done. And I liked the sound of them and wanted to support the artists. I went to the merch table and everything was Black Mountain except for Blood Meridian. So I grabbed that album without realizing that this was actually a side project from some of the members of Black Mountain. Joshua Wells is the drummer for Black Mountain. As well, he drums on this album. But this is more of a project by Matthew Camerad. Matthew Camerad, I might be saying that incorrectly, but he's the bass player. He's the old bass player for Black Mountain. This is his side project. Joshua Wells still on this project as well. This album is still really good. It's not quite as solid as the other Black Mountain, Pink Mountaintop stuff, but I'm happy I picked it up, but it wasn't what I thought it was when I got it. Blood Meridian. At a completely different Black Mountain show at the Warehouse in Calgary, which is now been closed for a few years, Ladyhawke was opening for Black Mountain. And this was on their tour when Ladyhawke kind of had a hit and they were picking up momentum, and I really enjoyed their opening set. So I talked to the band. I went to the merch table after they were done, and I talked to the singer and the bass player, and they signed this. The bass player, Duffy, signed Smoke Weed Every Day, XOXO, Heart. And I bought this from them. This wasn't the album that their newest album, but I really liked a track on here called War. And so I picked this album up. I really like this one. That's a good one. Now we're going to take it totally somewhere else. Calgary every year has a festival called Sled Island. And Sled Island Festival is, they bring bands in from all over. A lot of Canadian bands, a lot of bands from the US, and also a few artists from Europe. This is a band, Adebisi Shank. They're from Ireland, and I've been looking them up recently on online, and I don't think they're still together. But this album is incredible. This is it's just called. This is the second album of the band called Adebisi Shank. These guys, I was volunteering at this venue in Calgary. It was at Vern's, which, if you know Calgary, it's like Vern's is a really small basement club, but it brings a lot of live music. A lot of bands, local bands, will go there and play to 5 people. But they're like, Vern's just seems to be the place that'll welcome anybody, and even the bigger bands, they've all played at Vern's at some point. So Vern's, this band, they were like just young guys. It was 3 guys, and they were all like pretty young. And when they were doing the sound check, Clint, who's the bartender / sound guy at Vern's, was playing, like, turning up the reverb on the vocals for him, and the singer kept telling him to turn up the reverb, and he's like, it's not going to sound right if I keep turning up. He's like, trust me, it's what I want. So he's doing the tests and everything, and turns up the reverb. And when these guys started singing, they're not really a vocal oriented band. So the vocals were more of a sound effect, and it's kind of like math rock, kind of it sounds electronic, but it's guitar, bass, drums, and they had lots of loops and like dance music, but heavy, kind of Rage Against the Machine You know, definitely Tom Morello influences in this band. Anyway, great band. I hope they put out another album, but they probably are not. Because that was probably 7 years ago that I got this. I don't really know. 6 or 7. Or, yeah, 6. 2011. Okay. Now, this is a band that I really enjoy and I've seen live a bunch of times at bars in Calgary. And they seem to be getting a lot of steam, you know? Really coming up. The Pack AD. So this album is Funeral Mixtape, which I got at the first show that I saw them. They played at the Back Alley in Calgary, and they signed it. So then the next time I saw them in Calgary, they put out this album, OK Computer, and they signed this one as well. And I have all their other albums, but these are the only 2 I have signed. And these are actually the only 2 I ever bought at shows. I bought the other ones at like pre-sale online and stuff when they come out with an album. I feel like pre-sales are a good way to support the band as well, you know, because they'll have a tour coming up and you can get the album before you see them. So, I mean, that's a good way to get the music too. So, the Pack AD, these are some killer chicks from Vancouver who I always like to go see when they come to town. Okay, now we get the CD. Now, I've bought lots of CDs over the years at shows, and even probably a lot of them are CDs that I would never even want to play. It's just showing support, either a local band or, you know, somebody opening for, you know, if I went to see my friend's band and they have an opener coming in from out of town, I would buy their CD, you know, just to support the band. But when I was 18, I grew up in Nova Scotia. In Nova Scotia, they had a festival. It wasn't really put together as like there were no sponsors or anything. It was just this guy owned a farm, and he would open up his property, bring bands in, and the bands would play. And my favorite band that I saw, this is at Valleypolooza in 1998. My favorite band was Burnt Black. Now, this is a DIY put together CD, but it's on record label Dependent Records. Now, Dependent Records was the first label to put out the first Winter Sleep album, maybe the first couple. So I didn't realize this band Burnt Black. They're really hard to find online. This CD I've never seen anywhere else, but they put on a great show from this barn into a field, and it was, you know, 1998. It was, I don't know, Korn was big, and so it was like heavy guitars, down tuned like crazy, and the songwriting was really good, and it was a lot of fun. And but I never knew anything about the band. And last year, 2016, I went to a festival in Calgary, X Fest, and Winter Sleep was playing there. And I met a couple of the guys from Winter Sleep, and I spoke to the singer, and I knew that they were on the same record label, so I asked him if he knew of this band, and he did. And I think he said he may have been at the same festival, the same Valleypolooza show, which is weird. But he said the singer from this band is also the singer or a member of the band Holy Fuck in Canada. So that's kind of a big revelation for me. That gives me a whole new avenue of music to check out of the same artist that I really enjoyed. So I was really glad to get that information just this past summer. So I'm going to have to, I haven't really gotten too deep into the Holy Fuck catalog, but I'm excited because I love the songwriting on this. This is another one where the mix is a little bit off. It's too bad because if it was better, I feel like it would definitely deserve a reissue because it's just rocks. It's kind of like Deftones-y. You know, you could tell that Korn was on the radio at the time, but it's not a Korn ripoff. It doesn't sound too much like Korn. It's not like rapping lyrics or anything like Limp Bizkit or anything. But no, I love this album. I bought this album from the guitar player after their set for $5 and a hit of acid because I only had $5 and a hit of acid, and I gave that to him for this CD. So I hope I don't get anyone in trouble, but that was almost 20 years ago. Back to Calgary, where I've been for the last quite a few years. Zeus, Say Us. So I have a couple friends, close friends, who always have been talking about this band Zeus and always telling us, and you know, we'd be over and they would play it in the background, and it just never stuck with me. But Zeus came to town, and I love going to see live music, so we went to the Republic again and saw Zeus play. Watching these guys play blew me away. They just are so talented. Every single member is an incredible songwriter. They all are masters of more than one of the instruments. I believe they were passing the instruments throughout the set. It was just a great show. I was stuck. I didn't know which album to buy. I bought this, but I also know that Bursting Visions is a really great album. And my friends who took me to the show, they say every album is great. And I trust them. And that's why I went to the show. And I am really happy to have this album. I love this album. This is great. Zeus. If they come to your town, go see them, because underrated like crazy. They should be definitely getting a lot more exposure. And I also believe that they played like in 2015, Chris Hadfield, the Canadian astronaut, recorded an album, and they were his backing band on the album. So that's an interesting fact. Okay, so this is from my most recent haul. So I went to a show one night to see Cron Goblin, their album release for this album, Blackwater. Great album. They're still playing shows. I sent them to Europe, I believe. They're a Calgary band, but they're playing all over. You know, this kind of gave them a big push. This album is really good. And this night, I showed up to I didn't have anybody to go with. I went by myself. But before the shows started, before the doors opened, I was stopped. This was at the Night Owl. I stopped in at the Broken City to see my friend who was bartending. And they had a band playing, Melted Mirror. So I bought this cassette, Melted Mirror, at Broken City before I went to the album release party for Cron Goblin. This is really good, and Melted Mirror has also put out a LP just before Christmas, I think. So just the end of 2016. So I picked that up last week, but this one is... I picked this up. So cassettes. The day before, I was telling somebody, I'm like, talking shit about cassettes. I'm like, the sound quality is not as good, and it's not as convenient as a CD or an MP3. But vinyl, at least you can argue, it's like ritual to put it on. I really like the aesthetic of vinyl, you know? But cassettes are kind of a pain in the ass. But then I put it on, and I remember cassettes is what I started on cassettes when I was a kid. So, you know, after talking shit, as part of karma, I bought this cassette, and then the exact same night, Witchstone, this one, they put a sticker on the case. Witchstone is another Calgary metal band, the kind of sludgy doom metal. I don't know all the subcategories of metal. I'm not going to act like a aficionado, but really riff heavy, dark metal. Witchstone, great band. They're touring right now. I think they're in California selling their LP. So I picked up this cassette the same night. So I got two cassettes and the Cron Goblin LP all in one night. It was a good night because all three of these bands have been just doing great stuff ever since. So in Calgary, Witchstone is going to be playing a show on April 1st, and Cron Goblin is going to open for them. So they're going to reverse roles, get to see both bands again. And I had such a good time at the first show. I'm going to take my wife to this show, and we're going to have a good time. So that's everything I have for you tonight. This was sort of my video about albums I picked up at live shows. And I encourage you guys to go see live music and to buy albums directly from the bands whenever you can, because it's a good way for them to get some income. So thank you very much for watching. Talk to you later.